Girl, 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 girl. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I procrastinate so fucking much? Why? Why? Let's dive into it today. At this episode of Honestly, this is already a second episode of Honestly, and I'm just so excited to dive into the topic of procrastination. What should we do with it? Should we eat it? Should we not? Should we get rid of it? Should we not? What should we be doing with procrastination? Like, who's to say that this episode was or was not, or may not have been filmed literally hours before its release? You'll never know that, right? Because how would you know? How would you know? But first, let's understand what it is. Procrastination is a brain activity that kind of prevents us from doing what we set out to do. Why does our brain do that? And I think, and I'm not a scientist, so let's put that disclaimer somewhere that I'm not a scientist, but I think that procrastination is a coping, not necessarily coping mechanism, but almost like a safety mechanism, right? You see, our bodies, our brains, our everything is all about efficiency. You know, finding a way how to reach something a little bit faster, but while preserving the quality. And the procrastination is the enemy of the quality, because the thing is, we get scared. We humans, we get scared. I don't know if you know that. You know, a lot of people assume that we humans are so brave, but in reality, we are not. And procrastination is one of those things that occurs in our mind and occurs in our life as a way to save us, as a way to protect us, as a way to keep us in the cozy spot of our lives. But as you all know, and if you don't, but as you all know, it is change and activity and hardships and whatever, you know, like stuff that makes us grow, makes us move farther and further and whatnot. And I mean, procrastination is not uncommon. 95% of adults report that they procrastinate occasionally, but the thing is, nobody knows how often. So I'm actually curious, how often do you procrastinate? Like, I do it on a daily basis. Literally, I wake up and I'm like, I don't have to get up for another 5 minutes. I'm gonna procrastinate here for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? It's an amazing thing. But also, I truly, truly, truly believe that procrastination is the enemy of progress, the enemy of creativity, the enemy of ability, the enemy of dreams, really, you know? Because people mostly procrastinate when it comes to, you know, life goals or whatever, something that is super like personal that, you know, like for example, this, right? I've been procrastinating to do this show for months and months and months because I was always like, well, what are the people gonna think? What are they gonna say? Oh my God, opinions of other people's are so important to me, is what I thought. But then at some point I was like, wait, what if I just started doing it? What if I were to just commit and do it and try to push myself and remind myself of the fact that procrastination is the core reason why me or other people don't achieve what they want to do or don't get to do what they want to do simply because they're like, there's a tomorrow, you know? But as I said, you know, tomorrow may never come. Tomorrow does not exist. And then when tomorrow comes, it becomes today. And then today you say, I'll do it tomorrow again. You know? And I also believe that procrastination is a very, very adult thing. You know? I believe when I feel like when I was a kid, I wasn't as lazy. And maybe lazy is the wrong word because I actually am lazy, you know, but my laziness stems from finding a way to reach or get to somewhere a little bit faster, more efficiently, because I just don't want to be dealing with stuff, you know? That's where my laziness is. Whereas procrastination, I think it's such an adult thing because the reality hits at some point. You know, you grow up and you're like, at first you're like, ooh, life, I'm an adult. And then you're like, oh shit, I am an adult. I have to do bills. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to work. I have to do blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And all those things can just overwhelm a lot of people. And as still a young adult myself, I count myself as a young adult, it is just shocking. And it kind of like hits me that like, oh, I'm an adult. I have responsibilities. And the inner kid inside me is like, but do you have responsibilities though? And that's where the change I feel like needs to really happen, to recognize the fact that I can still have my inner child and be as silly and as funny as I want to be, but also responsible and buttoned up, you know? Because otherwise, what's the point, you know? You have to do stuff and you have to reach and not, you know, as an adult, I feel like there is so much responsibility that, you know, is pushed onto us so much and so fast and so soon that nobody really is prepared for that, right? It's not like they say, okay, in a week you're gonna be an adult, here's an instruction manual. Like, I had no idea how to do taxes. I had no idea how to, like, I don't know, iron a shirt. Yeah, you know, a lot of other things. By the way, I still don't iron anything. That's just my kind of a thing, you know. You won't find anything that's ironed in my closet. But anyway, what causes procrastination? Like, I'm not a psychologist, so I have no idea. Like, I'm not gonna be giving you terms and whatever, like, no idea. But from my perspective, and I think a lot of people honestly could agree with this, is that the procrastination comes from fear, you know, from fear of whatever that may be. Fear of judgment, fear of anything really, you know, like people can be afraid of heights, people can be afraid of whatever, people can be afraid of themselves and afraid to show themselves, you know, and that kind of a fear is detrimental to success, you know. Fear of failure also is a huge part that prevents a lot of people from getting to where they want to go, you know, because failure, you know, I think a lot of people forgot or just don't remember or whatever. Failure is essential to success. Literally, there is no way you can do something so good the first time. You have to have a lot of many times before that of you trying and failing as many times as needed until you get it right or until you get to where you want to go. And once you understand that failure is essential to your success or success of anyone really, and that it is just a part of a natural journey, something clicks in your brain. And I think that's what happened in my case, because I'm like, it's okay to fail. Like, these episodes, like, who cares? You know, if people are gonna watch it, amazing. If people are not gonna watch it, also amazing, because at least I'm doing something. I'm trying to be creative and use my skills and hopefully improve my skills and maybe even bring other skill set to this show. Who knows? You know? So just don't be afraid to fail. Failure is exciting, you know? But failure just because you are incompetent, well, that's stupid. So before you try to do and achieve whatever you want to achieve, pick up some knowledge. I think knowledge and understanding and skill in general is a way to beat procrastination, because you can then approach something in an educated way and be like, yeah, I know what to do, I can do it. And then you don't procrastinate and you just do it. Simple as that, you know. And also, you know, you have to look at procrastination not just as a block to your success, but also as a block to your own health. You know, if you procrastinate way too much and too often, like chronic procrastination, it can lead to illnesses, it can lead to depression, it can lead to other, you know, not so good experiences for you mentally and physically, that is just not worth it, you know. When you do stuff and when you kind of like check things off the list, you get that boost of the, you know, I think it's serotonin, the thing that kind of hits your brain and you're like happy, you know, when you eat or when you work out. or when you do stuff. When you are like, yeah, I'm gonna do something today, and I did it, and you're like, wow, I'm amazing, I did it. And so, just be aware of that. Try not to allow procrastination to be your first choice of action, because when you choose to procrastinate, that's not action. That's just, a waste of time. And that's another point, by the way, I really wanted to emphasize. Time is literally the most precious thing on this planet, after oxygen, I would say. Because you may have a lot of money, you may not have a lot of money, but however much time you have is that resource that you can then maneuver and channel into the areas that you want to succeed, because the thing is, we can, the meteorite out there in space, you never know when that's gonna hit us. So try not to procrastinate, even out of fear of losing a chance to achieve. I mean, I have to say, it took me so long to really even understand that procrastination is something that brings me down, because it's so cozy to procrastinate. It's so it feels natural to procrastinate. So at some point I was like, okay, but how do I combat it? How do I find a way and not procrastinate? What helped me is, as easy as it is, checklists. Not even kidding. On my fridge, I have a checklist of things that I need to do every single day. And then at the end of that list is a reward that I kind of self-allocate to myself. Whether that may be, I don't know, playing some video games for several hours as a treat, or maybe going out somewhere, or maybe doing something else, or something else that I would want to do just as a treat. But only if I cross off every single item on the list. But then also, I feel like procrastination is essential for our brain to just relax. As long as you are not chronically procrastinating, it's okay to allow yourself a little bit of it, though. Just every once in a while, you should take that break. You should be like, you know what? I can do some of that tomorrow. As long as it does not become a habit, because once that turns into a habit, it's very difficult to break any habits, especially bad habits like procrastination. So I guess my message at the end of this episode is very simple. Recognize your procrastination if you have it. And again, you do. Trust me, you do. And if you don't want to admit it, that's okay. You don't have to admit it. But honestly, I admitted it to myself and I feel better. So as long as you look inside yourself and you're like, okay, my procrastination is because of this or that. And when you start tackling that issue, you eventually reach success. That's just the rule of physics. You work hard, you achieve stuff. You set a goal and you work towards it, you achieve that goal. That's simple as that. A lot of celebrities to this day, they're all like, just keep doing what you want to do and, never give up. And I remember thinking about that for a long time. As an adult, as a kid, as a, wherever I was in my life, whenever or wherever, and only recently I realized that, what, they're absolutely right. Just keep pushing, but be smart and allow yourself to procrastinate just a little bit, because your brain, your body, and your mind does need a break, but be careful. Procrastination is a very dangerous vice that can then become a monster, Speaking of monsters, on the next episode, I would love to talk to you about vices. Vices are fascinating to me, and I think it actually kind of is a good segue from procrastination. So let's see how we can approach vices in a very honest way. This has been me, myself, and I, Chic Shot. Thank you all so much for joining, for being here tonight, or I don't know what day it is or what time of day it is on your end. So thank you for being here, honey. See you next week. Bye 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 bye.